Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I know your schedules are really busy, but this is a really important topic. So tonight is all about how really actions have consequences, how one mean-spirited comment can affect you the rest of your life, how one message you send as a middle school or a high school student can maybe affect you not getting into college, or maybe down the road not getting that dream job that you were aiming for. So tonight, the Cyclones are excited to have Major League Baseball agent Mark Leinweaver here to present. Currently, Mark represents over 75 professional players and frequently speaks at high schools nationwide on why character matters. So without further ado, please give your attention to Mr. Mark Leinweaver.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I always welcome an introduction. Certainly the round of applause, while I think it's far more warranted for your athletic director and the folks here at Southside that make something like this possible, it always puts a smile on my face. But the smile doesn't last very long. Why? Because what we're going to cover tonight in about a half hour is really serious stuff. It's the difference between getting accepted into a college and getting rejected. It's the difference between getting the job and getting turned down, because every single thing that we do now in this world, it's not a day by day, it's not an hour by hour, it's literally on a minute by minute basis, and it's because of these weapons that every single student holds in their hands. So tonight I want to go through who I am and why I'm here, but more importantly, how to educate everyone, parents included, navigating through these waters that for the first time really in anyone's lifetime, the youth, these students, they are first generation to have to deal with the obstacles and the consequences, the pitfalls, the concerns of social media every single day. And for too many students out there, the bullying that comes with that. So who is and why Mark? I'm a Major League Baseball agent. I represent over 75 players and their families. And while I work in baseball, and for those of you who are my Yankees fans, how about the Mets fans? It's not just baseball. I work with people in the NFL and the NHL, NASCAR, golf, swimming, track, tennis, cross country, you name the sport. I have to deal with the agents and the managers of all of the sports. And it's not just sports, because when my players have a day off in New York, they want to go to Broadway. When they're out in Los Angeles, they want to check out where do they shoot that show, or where that movie set is. And they really want to go to the arts. They want to go check out those performers. So a little show of hands. Where are my Taylor Swift fans? How about my Travis Kelce fans? Because they are now hand in hand. What about people that follow Morgan Wallen? How about Drake? Drake always gets a couple of hands. So the reason I bring that up is because the agents, the managers, the publicists, all of the people that work with those celebrities, whether they are athletes or whether they are entertainers, I deal with all of them. I had an opportunity to have breakfast with Taylor Swift's manager when she performed 6 shows in 7 days in Los Angeles at the beginning of August. When we sit down, we always have the same conversation. No different when I talk to Drake's record people. And it's about character. It's about how every single thing that they've ever worked for, that fame, that fortune, it can disappear that quick. And the ironic part is that even though they are superstars, you have a tremendous amount in common with them. Every single student, you have everything on the line based on your behavior with these weapons. So do those celebrities. What's the difference? The difference is that those celebrities, they have someone like myself. They have a team working for them that when they get into trouble, they could try to spin their way out of it. It doesn't always work, but they've got a team that they pay millions of dollars to. And I don't care how good your family lawyer is, you don't. And so you have a lot more on the line. I've referenced it already. The chance to go to college, the opportunity to get that job. In fact, it might now be coming to school the next day. Because depending upon how crazy, how egregious, whatever the incident is on social media, well, that might lead to a suspension, possibly getting expelled. And unfortunately, we had something here in Long Island not too long ago, not far from Rockville Center, where we've seen in the news incidents of poor character. And it was at an athletic event, and the issue, who it came from, was a non-athlete, just a member of the student body. But it was athletics that found themselves in the paper. It happens very, very quickly. And tonight we're going to talk about how serious it is. I'm not going to tell, I'm going to show real-life examples. The message you get tonight are the same messages. It's the same conversations that those celebrity entertainers, those professional athletes get. I'm originally from New York. I'm a graduate of Stonehill College. And why am I really here? It's the passion that I have to share this because I understand how worrisome it can be for a parent and how devastating it could be for a student. Well, if I'm an agent and I represent 75 players, well, I'm not the only other agent in this room. Every single one of you students, congratulations, you are now an agent too. And unlike me, 75 clients, you have one. Who's your client? It's yourself. And I can tell you that if you don't know that client inside and out, if you don't know the pros and the cons, if you don't know the strengths and the weaknesses, then you're going to fail, both of you. The fundamental building block to being an agent is honesty. You always need to be honest with yourself. And so if honesty is the key and you represent yourself, then we should talk about the ABCs. It starts with A, accountability. Now I know you're horsing around, you and your friends in the hallway, and you get dragged down to the assistant principal's office, and inevitably they'll ask you, where's the accountability? I don't see the word that way. I break that word into two, account and ability. Every one of you students, you have an ability. You're an all-star. You're a superstar in whatever that given ability is. You do it better than everybody. The person to your left or your right, to the front or to the back. It's unique to you. And I'll give you an example to make it easy. When I was in your position in high school, even back to middle school, I won the same superlative twice in the yearbook. You could fact check it, 1989 and 1993 in Yorktown Heights, New York. Most talkative. And here I am 30 years later, still the most talkative person in the room. I wasn't the best student, and I wasn't the most gifted athlete. I certainly wasn't the most involved in clubs and activities, but I could talk better than everybody. That was my ability. What's yours? Because that ability, you're going to be held to account for it here in high school, off to college, in a job, really throughout life. And it's going to be your calling card. It's going to separate you from everybody else. You have to start thinking about what that ability is now, because it's going to define you. Balance. Now, I already dropped a couple of names. Those superstar entertainers, the professional athletes you follow, they'll all talk about the same thing, that balance is the key to life. Well, here's some good news for every student, every agent, every client. It's not mom and dad's job to tell you how you should run your day. It's not your teachers or your coaches either. Why? Because you represent you. So we'll do a little more Q&A here. I already asked about who do those artists are, to those rap fans. Well, how many people in this room play video games? How many people make TikTok videos? How about at least watch TikTok videos? Okay, so we've got time for video games and we've got time for TikTok videos, and I get it. I'm okay with it. I've got players that get paid a lot of money to play in video game tournaments or make TikTok videos, so it's part of your day. I understand it. I know you're all athletes. That's why you're here. For some of you, maybe you're up on the stage in the performing arts, playing an instrument or just performing, dancing, acting, whatever. You're all busy. I haven't said anything about being in this building for 8 hours a day to learn. I haven't mentioned homework. I definitely haven't talked about eating or sleeping. And I know you're going to FaceTime. You're absolutely going to Snapchat. So I get it. Your day's going to go by like that. There's 24 hours in it. How are you breaking it up? Because that is crucial to your development. You are in charge of you. How much time are you spending on anything I just mentioned? Like I said, you're to the agent and you're to the client. It's your job to determine how much or how little you're spending on any of it. And why am I really here? It's character. Character. That is the C. Your client, it is vital to it, namely with social media and bullying. So if we're going to talk about social media, let's start with the awareness. You must be aware of what you post, what you like, what you dislike, what you comment on, those group threads you're a part of, those posts, those tags that you maybe didn't want to be on. You have to be aware of all of it. Why? Because it's an extremely dangerous weapon. Every single one of you can access it from your fingertips at any given moment. And while I realize it might not happen here at Southside, I already found out from most of you, you like rap music, you like Drake in particular. I'll give you a couple of examples that I'm not suggesting happen here, happen to you, happen to a friend, a teammate in this community, but I'll make them up for the purposes of an example. So, the new album drops, and now with these phones, the song lyrics, they scroll up. So, you know, that new album drops, it's Drake, you're gonna, hey, have you seen this new album? Have you heard this song? So you screenshot it and you shoot it off to a couple of friends. And what you fail to realize is that in that song, Drake uses the N-word. And now all of a sudden, that's no longer Drake's lyric, that's your organic thought because you chose to screenshot it. You decided to send that out to others. And the moment that leaves your hands and goes to someone else in this building and outside of it, out in that community, whether you are or not, you're going to be considered and judged as a racist. Might not be true, but that's how the world's going to see you because of your use of the N-word. And it doesn't stop with you. So those friends of yours, they must be racist. That team you play for has to be racist. Your family, racist. The school you go to, the community you live in, racist. Making a TikTok video. Snow day. Got a little downtime. You don't even want to be in the video. 4 or 5 friends of yours. Well, as an agent representing one, you can control what you do. You can control what you say, but you can't control what the other people's do and say. And so now all of a sudden, you're making that video, everyone's having a good time, and someone from the back yells, "This is so gay." Well, you know that they were not describing the happy-go-lucky time they were having. You know exactly how that was used. And as if being a racist wasn't bad enough, that's an insult. That's a slur, and it's homophobic. So now we've got a homophobic racist person, friend group, team, school, community. Not saying it's going to happen here. I'm just saying, keep it in mind. Because when I talk about this, and as unrelated as it might seem, or unrelatable as it might seem in our community, I always look for a real-life example. And the one behind me, this actually happened. And the reason I chose it, the reason I researched it, and decided to put this on as a slide is because I believe this is the one of all the ones I saw through that is most relatable to potentially happen here at Southside. So, from the top, a female freshman high school student in Virginia sent a private Snapchat to a friend where she used a racial slur. The video was then circulated and saved by another student who was a male African American. The female student said that the words she used in the Snapchat was, quote, "in all the songs we listen to." What she said in that Snapchat to her friend was, "I can drive, N-word." It wasn't until her senior year, 3 years later, after she was accepted into the University of Tennessee and onto its national champion cheer team, that the post reemerged. Now I'm going to stop here and I'm just going to recap where we're at. So that high school student first says, the use of the word was in all the songs we listened to. We had a lot of rap fans here, and I just told you it could never happen here, but that hypothetical made-up example I gave you a moment ago sounds a lot more real right now. And that young lady, she spent her entire life working to get to become this senior, earning a scholarship on a national champion team when the post, which was 3 years earlier, reemerges. Now, Snapchat is supposed to disappear, right? 24 hours goes away. Well, I can tell you nothing goes away. I represent players that are on the verge of multi-million-dollar contracts, and the first thing the team does is they don't check their medical history, they check their history. They go back and they see what they liked and what they disliked and what they commented on, what they posted about on this weapon. And they will go back to middle school, high school, college. Years, they'll go back a decade, sometimes 2, before they're going to guarantee those millions of dollars. That's what happens in the real life, real world. And that's what we see playing out here. So after the female student went to Instagram to support the BLM movements following the George Floyd protests, the African American student who saved that video shared that original Snapchat on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and called out her racist behavior. And that led to thousands of students nationwide, not just in Virginia, to call out that female student's use of the N-word. It resulted in public pressure, first on the university, and then her spot on the team was revoked. It led to the college to give the student the ultimatum of either withdraw or Tennessee would take back its offer of admission. She withdrew. She's now 20 years old. She's still living at home with mom and dad. Her mother said that the entire experience vaporized 12 years of her daughter's hard work and unfortunately going to affect her for the rest of her life. If you think that those examples I gave a moment ago can't happen to you, can't happen to a friend, can't happen to a teammate, can't happen here at Southside, can't happen here in Rockville Center, can't happen across the board, then you are lining up to be that next student, like this one from Virginia, to suffer from those life-altering consequences. This is real life, real world stuff. And if you truly believe that you are that invincible, you're next. Now I told you, you represent yourself. You know you have been lumped into threads, group threads that you can't get off of, but your name's on it. You are tagged in posts that you want no part of, but your name's on it. And when this type of behavior goes down and you're associated to it, whether you did it or not, your name's on it. And when that ship sinks, you're going down to the bottom with it. Real life, real world. Because it's not a day by day. It's not an hour by hour. You live on a minute by minute basis. And as I said, you're a first generation. Your mom and dad, they didn't have to live through this. Your teachers didn't have to live through this. So you're the first ones trying to figure this out on your own. But they'll give you advice no different than the advice I'm giving you now. The job of an agent, it's to give advice. It's up to you if you want to accept it. That's what your parents are doing. That's what your teachers are doing. But the leash, it's shorter. The margin for error, it's slimmer. And the consequences, it's greater than it's ever been. That's what you have to try to navigate through every single minute of every single day. And so when I think of that story, it takes me to being brave. I want you to think about if you got that Snapchat. I don't care who it's from. Your best friend, your captain. Would you be brave enough to step up and tell an adult? Because too often the answer, it's no, and I understand that. I get why you don't want to. You'd be concerned about snitching. I hear it all the time. If you see something, you got to say something. If you hear someone, you have to tell someone. Being brave, it's not easy, but it is your responsibility to tell an adult. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to go rush off and tell the principal or even the athletic director. Who's that favorite family member, that aunt or that uncle, that coach that knows you inside and out and would trust with your life? Once you tell that adult, you're off the hook. You're done. It's now on the adult. But you have to step up and be brave. The one thing we don't know about in that Snapchat story is about the person who received it. We know about the young lady, the consequences. We know about the young man who was offended, and rightfully so. We know nothing about the person that got the Snapchat, and I always wonder if that person was brave enough to say something right away. Would it have been a meeting in the principal's office? Would it have never gotten out? Would it have been an apology, and we would have moved on? Would it be an assembly like this, where we'd have a chance to have an education and talk about why it's so wrong, so we can unite, become one, and talk about how to that type of behavior, to that type of language, it's not acceptable. But we'll never know because that student, they weren't brave enough. And so I ask you, if you got that Snapchat, you saw the fight in the locker room, the graffiti on the wall, the incident that happened in the parking lot at the 7-Eleven, would you be willing to step up? Especially if the victim was your best friend, your brother or your sister. Because if it happened to you and it was personal, you'd expect somebody to step up. You'd seek justice. But all of a sudden, it's not possible because no one wants to snitch. And we now live in a world where if your eyes are on it, and I'll remind everyone, there's a camera recording my every move, my every word. Cameras are out there too. They're on lampposts and the end of garages, overlooking people's front door. They're everywhere, and they catch it all. And that type of behavior might take the police a day, a week, a month, or a year, but eventually, you're going to get caught. But in this one instance, they just couldn't see the person's face, but they see yours, and all they want is a name. So they ask you to come down to the principal. You walk in, and for every student, there's a superintendent. Hey, mom and dad are here. Oh, and so are the police. And all they want is a name. but you don't want to snitch. I gave this presentation once and somebody put on my Instagram afterward, blood ain't going to get me to snitch. No problem. I'm not trying to get you to snitch. I'm just giving you some advice. Because if your two choices in that meeting is you don't want to give us a name, you don't want to snitch, no problem. You're suspended first thing tomorrow morning. You've got 5 days to give us a name, and if you don't, you're expelled. Because this school, this district, when there is a victim, when there is an incident like that, and there is a lawsuit possibly pending, there's a whole series of events. We need one name. They're not going to mess around. They're going to put your feet to the fire. It's your responsibility to share that information. It's hard. It is tough being brave. The adages in sports all the time. How brave to go across the middle and take that hit. Take that shot at the buzzer. That ain't brave. This is being brave. Volunteering in your community. You've got time for TikTok. You've got time for Instagram and Snapchat. You got time for the video games. I know you got time for sports. You got a lot of time. How many of us are taking time to help with special needs students? The same ones that go to school with you every single day. The one thing about special needs is those students, they didn't choose to be special needs. That wasn't a choice, but they choose to participate in clubs and activities that need you to volunteer and make run. Set up the cones, run the clock. The same sport you're playing now, maybe. They need you. Just one example. How many of you have pets? Let me see the hands. How many of you adopted your pet? A few of you. Those shelters, they seek volunteers. You love animals? You adopted your animal? How about going and volunteering a few hours a week, a few hours a month to give back, help others? Be selfless, not selfish. In this world where it's all about me, look at me, it's all for the gram. Selfish. Who's being selfless? Because at some point, all of you, you're going to want to go off to college or into the real world and get a job. They're going to look at your application. They're going to judge you on your resume. And they're going to only look at what's on the outside. GPA, your boards, extracurriculars. And the only way to separate yourself from the hundreds, the thousands of people that you're up against is to show who you are on the inside. Selfless, giving back, helping others. That's the difference between getting accepted into the school of your choice or getting rejected. The difference of getting the job or being turned down. And it's not while you do it. And not everybody has to run off and join some sort of 501c3 charity. I'm talking about right here in this building. Volunteering a smile. Smiles are contagious, and those are actually okay to catch. But when you're walking down the hallway and you see that student who is always by themselves, always sitting in the cafeteria by themselves, they could use that smile. That, hey, how you doing? How you feeling today? And I mean being genuine. Not the half looking down, so what are you up to this weekend? I'm talking about engaging. Because when you do that, for that student, you're going to make a difference in their day. You're going to learn a little bit about them, but you're going to learn a whole lot more about yourself. We live in a world now that you never know what that other person is thinking. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes or at home. And that little smile, that quick 15-second interaction of investing in them can make a tremendous difference in their day and their outcome. I'm not asking for much. I'm asking for being selfless and kind, to treat people the way you hope and expect to be treated. Because this world, it needs more selflessness. It needs more kindness. You represent yourself. You are in charge of you, and you've got a lot of time to do a lot of other things. Find some time to volunteer. School spirit. I'm surrounded by athletes, and every single one of you, you've got an ego. I've got a massive ego, so I get it. I've been in sports for over 25 years. Every single athlete expects those gyms to be packed, those stands to be filled. You want every student in this school to come to your event, to high-five you when you walk down these hallways. That's what you expect. Well, the people that come take this stage, they expect this auditorium to be filled too. But too often, the athletes, they don't support the arts. In fact, too often, they're making fun of it. Well, it's interesting because those athletes you look up to, the ones that are your favorite player, the ones on your favorite team, I told you, On off days, they want to go to Broadway. They want to go to the set of the movie. They want to go to the concert for Taylor or Morgan or Drake. They actually really respect them. And so if those individuals, the ones that are in the pros that you root for every day, if they're showing up for the arts, then why aren't you? Because these faces might look familiar. That's Morgan Wallen and Taylor Swift and your boy Drake, all when they were in high school, on a stage exactly like this. Drake, before he was an international star, as a rapper, was an actor on Degrassi Junior High. It started right here. Every one of you, you are going to school right now with the future Morgans, Taylors, and Drakes. And I know if those three were playing in this auditorium tonight, the line would be to New York City to get in. Why not now? And support the arts. Your fellow students who are up here practicing the same way you do, performing no different than you every single day. And I'll conclude with bullying. This is the most obvious sentence I could read all night. Bullying is an unacceptable behavior and has become a real and tragic epidemic. Your job is to lead, not follow, in anti-bullying initiatives. How many athletes here, whether you wear the C on your jersey or not, consider yourself a leader? How many leaders? I basically see every single hand. Well, if you're to lead on the field, if you're to lead on the court, whatever the sport is, your responsibility, your social responsibility in this building is to lead off it. Your job is to protect those being bullied, to start anti-bullying initiatives, not be the bully. And sadly, too often, the athlete is the bully. Now, I'm not singling the athlete out because there are bullies in this room. Before I speak at any presentation, I ask, where are the bullies? And I always know where they are. And so I love to warn the bullies in advance. You might think you're a big deal now here at Southside, creating a ruckus in Rockville Center. And whether it's pushing people down or blowing them up and shaming them on Instagram, whatever that bullying is, at some point you're going to leave this building. You're going to leave this community. And you're going to go off, you're going to be a college freshman, an 18-year-old, hours away from home, surrounded by thousands of strangers. Or maybe you go into the workforce and you're on that job site. Well, you're always going to run into that 21-year-old man or woman adult who's going to tease you, who's going to haze you, who's going to bully you. And you're going to be that 18-year-old with very few friends, a ways away from your family. And you're going to wonder, why is this happening to me? And I am here right now tonight to remind you that you had the choice to be the bully or a leader in anti-bullying initiatives. You represent yourself. And so for all of those bullies, you can turn it around now. But for those of you that want to continue that course of action, you got some karma coming to you. It's real, and it's going to catch up. It's right around the corner. But I don't want to spend any more time talking about the bullies. I want to talk to every single student who feels like they are being bullied. And it could be a little or it could be a lot, but too many of you are being bullied in some way, shape, or form. I open this presentation challenging you and asking you, what is your ability? You're going to take that ability, that one that you do better than everybody else, and you are going to own it. And you're going to add two things that you already have inside. One is courage, and the other is confidence. And the reason why I, a total stranger, could come here to Southside and tell you that I already know you have courage and confidence is because it takes courage to get up every day and come to this school. And I know you've got confidence because everybody that has ability has a little swag to it. If you look up the definition of courage and confidence, you'll see in the same root word, ability. You're going to take that courage, that confidence, and that ability. You are going to roll it up into one, and it is going to become your suit of armor. It will be your Teflon. And there isn't a bully in this school, in this community, on this planet that can penetrate it. And the sooner you commit to it, the sooner the bullying ends. Now, I always wonder that if this student just moved here from South Dakota, doesn't know too many people here in town, and is walking these hallways for the first time, would there be one, just one bully? And for the parents too, I want you to use your voices here. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. If you think the answer is yes, I want you to say yes. If there is one bully in this entire school, if this kid was walking down the hallways being doubted, being judged, would that one bully call this kid a dork? Yes? Would they call him a loser? Yes? Maybe would some kids even call him fat? Yeah? I agree. Okay, we're unanimous. I'm in agreement. That kid hears fat, dork, loser all the time. Doesn't matter if it's a boy, doesn't matter if it is a girl. They hear it nonstop, and it doesn't end when the bell rings. It doesn't stop when they get off the bus. Why? These weapons. This is where the bully is now. The bully is on Instagram. It's on TikTok. It's on Snapchat. It's in group threads. It's on every single social media platform. And the bully, too often, it's nameless. It's faceless. It can't be found. And we are watching this boy behind me, the girl, take the most extreme, heart-wrenching, of permanent, irreversible decisions to make the bullying stop forever. And we don't want a tragedy on our hands based on that type of behavior that could have been avoided here at Southside. And the reason why I know, the reason I can stand up here on this stage and tell you about courage and confidence and ability is, you know what happened to the fat dork loser behind me? He grew up to come here tonight and tell you this message. That's me in those pictures when I was in middle and I was in high school. And I am living proof that it's not about how and where you start when you are judged and doubted every single day among your peers in the school you attend. It is all about how and where you'll finish in your personal journey in life. Every single one of you. You are agents, and you are scripting the life story of your own client, which is you. You are all holding that proverbial pen. How do you want to write the rest of that story? It is entirely and exclusively up to you. For every single student, all of the athletes, the parents, the coaches, the teachers, the administrators, everyone here at Southside, in Rockville Center, you are one team, you are one community. You have to come together as that one community to stop being part of that bullying problem and be the solution. It was an honor to be here. I tip my cap to all of you who attended. It always means a lot to come and share to this education. I wish you a happy and a healthy and a successful rest of the school year, and thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.